Hello everyone, we are approaching the end of the year and I want to do a garden review, a 2023 growing season review. So I'm going to show you how the garden is doing real quick now in December. And then we're going to sit down, you might want to grab a notebook, and I'm going to go over everything that I can kind of recall through this year in the garden. I actually just went back and watched all my garden tours for this year, took a bunch of notes, and we're going to go over them together. I still have a few greens growing, it's ready to be harvested. I'll probably harvest either today or a little bit later. And then I have some herbs in here. This is some oregano. It's very small, but I'm hoping that will overwinter. And some more herbs on the bottom too, and some other greens. Not much, but nice to have some things growing in the winter still. Oh, the daikon is looking really good. Let me show that to you guys real quick. Growing slowly, but still a bit bigger than last time. The soil is all coming up. It's pulling. This one there is really big. The calendula is kind of dying. It's almost time for me to get seed from it. And I have some more radishes in there. Not much. Some snapdragons in here too that I trimmed. And this little nice scale that I'll see if I will overwinter or not. The raised bed is almost all empty now. I took away all the dahlias as you guys saw in the last video. I divided all of them. And I have a few things here that are still surviving because they're cold hardy. We even have a few blooms still in December. I also have this pile of soil, mulch, and some branches here that we're gonna cut it up to mix it all together and fill up our front yard raised bed because I kind of neglected there for the past couple of years and it's looking really low, the soil level, so we're gonna try to work on that this winter too. The pear tree already lost all of its leaves. And some of the things in the containers are still alive here. Surprisingly, this jasmine is still alive. The eucalyptus in there, some other cool weather flowers, and these are seedlings that are supposed to overwinter in the cold too. And the carrots. Let's see how long these carrots are going to last and if I'll be able to harvest them at a good size. Okay, let's sit down now and reflect about how everything went and review how everything went. So it was difficult actually. I know I kept saying through the garden tours that I loved growing the flowers, but it was really a learning lesson for me, a challenging experience, especially now after I watched all the garden tours and saw. Sometimes when you look after it happens, you can kind of really see or really think about it instead of just being in the moment. So I think it was difficult. I started the year trying to do the best that I could to plan for the flowers and was sort of a risk. I think I overestimated how much I could actually do in here, especially because I didn't really know much about cut flowers and I went all in. I tried my best to learn, but it still was a huge learning curve. I started a few things super early as a test to kind of see how the seedlings look like and how fast they would grow, and lots of those things survived and I ended up planting them in the garden, and then that kind of messed up the plan that I had made before with the spacing, and then I ended up with a bunch of cool season flowers, but then I didn't have much as the flowers as I wanted for our big day in July. So anyway, looking back, it's kind of overwhelming even to think about it, but we're still gonna go through the details of the growing season because I think that's important. Now that I really think I'm looking back, I think I do miss growing vegetables, even though I was kind of enamored by the flowers through the season. I think I really want to bring the best of both worlds this year with the vegetable and the flower garden. So January last year, we didn't have a lot of snow from what I saw on the videos and the notes that I put in here. Our ground didn't really freeze. I did cover the green stalks. I had some things in there, and I had aphids in January. They were still surviving, the cabbage aphids inside the frost cover in the green stalk. I was able to get free compost from the city that early too, a few bags from Red Rook Farms in Brooklyn, and I also started my first seeds of the season. So I started a bunch of cool flower seeds and it ended up to be sort of a cool discovery. You know, I kind of dove into the world of cool flowers and I planted a lot more than I should have, but it's amazing to have flowers so early in the season and impressive to see how resilient they are, how much they actually like to grow in the cold. So I started those seeds in mid-January last year, and this year I'm going to start a bit earlier. And then in February I started my brassicas and lettuce seedlings. For brassicas I mostly just grew kale last year. We had some snow, but we also had a few days, warm days in the 60s, kind of a warm winter. So in February I believe that I also did a seedling tour. I'm going to link that up if you want to see how my seedling room looked by the time of the year. And then in March I started acclimating lots of the seedlings outside, the cool season seedlings, the seedlings that like the cold. I also amended the green stock by that time. I am also going to link that video here. And in March, I also started noticing some pest problems. I have some nice green tea here. It was very wet, starting to rain, so I noticed lots of fungus gnats in the soil, and I used those little sticky traps to try to control them. I'm comfortable using them in the beginning of the season, early, because the bees are still not out. I don't like to use those when there's bees and other beneficial insects around, because they can get trapped in there also. The aphids basically did not die last year. They survived through the whole spring, so I am debating if I'm going to leave that cave in there, because I don't want these guys to be feeding on them. So I have to think about it. I want to have the greens because it's so nice to have greens in the winter, but I have to be a bit smarter this year about pest control, because that was a huge problem for us in the garden last year. And I don't use anything to try to control it. That might change this year too. I might use some organic approved methods or some integrated pest control management. It was very rough last year because it's been 4 years almost that I'm gardening here, and the pests all know that my garden's here. So it is even more important now that I start planting a diverse garden. But I'm not gonna go too much to pest control here. Just really want to try to do the review and leave the next year planning for another video. So then April came. We had our first green stock harvest, which was really nice. I love eating greens in the spring. And I also decided to plant my dahlias in April last year, and all of them survived. I planted one wave first early in April, and they did well. So May, big time for the garden in May here for us. Our last frost date, actually, let me talk about that, used to be April 4th or 3rd. I never could remember the two, but I just looked it up again, and it's now April 1st. So the USDA hardness zones have changed, but from what I saw, we stayed where we are in 7B, but it's still affected. We're still a bit warmer, so now our last frost date is a little sooner, and our first frost date is a bit later, so we have a bit longer growing season by about a week, I think. So anyway, but even though our last frost date is in April, it's still cold in April, so I don't like to plant the tomatoes and some other warm loving crops, because I did that when I first started gardening, and I thought I didn't do very well. So I like to wait until May, when the temperatures are a bit warmer. So May came, and I transplanted lots of the warm season seedlings to the garden, but it was a bit difficult with spacing because I had so many flowers of the cool season that I kind of just stuck them some places. The tomatoes, I did dedicate space for them, but they did not do well this year because we left when they're in prime time. One beneficial thing that happens in May is that I started seeing the ladybug larvae, which was really waiting for because of the aphid problem, and they do come. So 2 years in a row, they usually come around May when it starts warming up, which is good. Then June came, and we had lots of flowers. It was nice. I ended up harvesting lots of flowers to practice with the bouquets for the wedding, and it was really beautiful. We had tons of blooms. I enjoyed being in the garden. Lots of people loved passing by the plot and seeing the blooms in there too, so that was nice. But I started getting really stressed with wedding planning, so I kind of slacked a bit on YouTube here. And in July, finally came the time to harvest everything. I did have a bit of a pest problem just a week before, but we still had a lot of flowers, and I was able to make lots of the arrangements. And then we left the garden. We were gone for a month. We went to Brazil to visit my family. It was really nice to be there. I really enjoyed spending time with them, feeling like at home again. It made me miss them even more. I wish I could go more often, but it's okay. We spent a whole month there. It was great. Danny really enjoyed meeting everyone. My family really enjoyed meeting him too. So we had a great time. We came back in August to find out that the garden was actually exploded with growth. Even though I harvested lots of the things, we had lots of rain where we were gone, and I thought I was going to come back to a dead garden, but we still had lots of green and lots of weeds actually also. Some of the plants didn't do really well, like the tomatoes. They didn't make it. We didn't have a good tomato year this year. Not a good vegetable year in general. I harvested a few things here and there in the spring, but nothing compared to the year before, which I know I felt overwhelmed the year before, but I now really miss it. I want to find a balance, not as much as we had the year before, and not as little as we had this year. And hopefully next year we'll just have a good amount, so I'll plan for that. But we had to do lots of weeding when we came back. It was just not looking great. And then we had the rat problem. I think that was in September that we started noticing the rats in there, and gosh, that was a nightmare. I was like a battle having to go there, and I almost gave up on the plot. I said I didn't want to deal with it anymore. It was kind of a drama situation, but I decided to take a class from the city, from New York City. It's called New York City Rat Academy, and it was really good. I was very impressed with the amount of information. It was a 2-hour class, and I took a million notes, and I'm planning to make a video about it next year. But that also gave me some hope again to have a garden, because I truly almost gave up. But I took some time to think about everything, and now looking at the footage from last year, and also I ended up looking at some of the videos of the year before too. Hopefully I can use that as a learning lesson and be able to still share more things with you guys, because as I keep saying all the time, my goal with this channel is to have a gardening and cooking channel. I wanted to use a lot of the stuff that I grow in the garden to cook in the kitchen. I also just want to share more about seasonal cooking, and I will try to go more to the farmers market and try to make nice meals to share here with you guys. I'm glad you guys liked the Thanksgiving video that I posted. I guess at that time of the year things started like shifting to the holiday season, so gardening related content kind of slows down. But that's how it is. That's part of living with the seasons. And now in December is planning time. It's time to think about it. Seed catalogs are coming in the mail. I already got them. I told myself I was not going to buy any seeds this year, but then it's so tempting to see the new varieties and not order anything. But because my husband's a teacher, I'm a cook, and we live in New York City, which is very expensive, we're really in a budget this year. After last year it was just too much. This year I'm trying to be a lot more conscious about that too, which is okay because I already have so much stuff. I have so many seeds, I have a lot of equipment and stuff in here. I think it's going to be totally fine. Just have to hold myself on that like consumer mentality and be happy and grateful for what I already have. I think the biggest lesson learned for me this year was to find a balance, to try to see what worked, to try to apply the things that I have learned, resist the urge of trying to grow everything, trying to start every seed, try to find a space for every seedling. This year I'll try to really stick to a plan, be more thoughtful about what I want to grow in the garden, and spacing all of that too, and we'll see what happens. So hopefully we will be heading to our best year yet, depending on weather and climate conditions, because last year was hard with that too. But anyway, I'd love to know how your year in the garden was. Lots of people here, my neighbors and people around me, say there was a difficult, challenging year with managing the rains and all the bugs and all of that. But I'm curious to see how it was for you. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy looking back, and I enjoy planning and just trying to really understand or pay attention to what's happening around me, and how cool it is that things are different and we keep learning no matter how much you know. I'm going to now finish my tea out here. We are almost out of sunlight. If you have anything to add, anything that I forgot that you watched and you remember, please put that in the comment section down below. I'll be very grateful. But now I'm going to end this video here. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you had a great year, and I'll see you next time. So wait for the ambulance to park again. This is the most classic New York City noise that you hear every day. So the USDA hardness zones, it's kind of like a month past our last frost date. Oh my god, a helicopter now.